Hi, I'm Fishkeeper B. In this video, I'm going to talk about my experience with Seaoura 24/7 aquarium lights. Throughout the video, I'll be showing my two fish stands as well as the individual tanks under the Seaoura lighting. On the final tank, I'll cycle through the different colors and brightness settings while I talk about what it's been like using these lights over the past year. When I got into the aquarium hobby, one of the first things that surprised me was aquarium lighting. The prices, the endless options, the terminology. It felt like I had accidentally stepped into an entirely different hobby. At the time, I had just set up my first 20-gallon long, and honestly, I just needed a light. I wanted to illuminate the tank, support a few basic plants, and hopefully not buy complete junk. I ended up going with a Seaoura 24/7 light from Amazon because the reviews were good, the feature set looked solid for the price, and as somebody new to the hobby, I couldn't justify spending hundreds of dollars on aquarium lighting. If I'm being honest, I expected it to feel cheap. One of the first things that surprised me once I started using it was the adjustable brightness and built-in timer system. When you're new to the hobby, you really don't understand the relationship between lighting and algae yet. I definitely did not. Being able to lower the brightness and control the lighting schedule made the tank much easier to manage while I was learning. That ended up mattering a lot more to me than fancy specs or marketing terms. Over time, the thing that really sold me on these lights wasn't some dramatic moment. They just quietly kept doing their job. I've had the first one for about a year now with no real issues. And while I'm not exactly hard on my equipment, for what I paid, that impressed me. At some point, I stopped thinking of it as good for the price and started realizing I genuinely liked the lights. These lights also changed the way I think about aquarium gear in general. They made me realize I probably don't need ultra expensive lighting for the kind of tanks I actually keep. Now, my tanks are not heavily planted, high-tech systems, so I'm not going to pretend I'm running contest aquascapes. But judging by how quickly algae responds when I push the brightness and photoperiod too hard, these lights clearly have more than enough output for the kind of setups I run, and probably enough for a lot of hobbyists. At this point, I own 4 of them. So in this video, I want to talk about why. When I first got the light, I honestly didn't know what an aquarium light was supposed to feel like. These were the first aquarium lights I had ever bought, so I didn't exactly have premium gear sitting around to compare them against. The housing is metal, so they never really felt cheap to me even though they're very lightweight. But honestly, that makes sense. At the end of the day, aquarium lights are basically specialized LED fixtures. Nothing about the Seaoura lights felt luxurious or ultra premium, but nothing about them felt like junk either. They just felt functional. Over time, I've settled into a pretty simple routine with these lights. At this point, I run most of my tanks around the third lowest brightness setting for about 6 hours a day. Through trial and error, I learned pretty quickly that if I push the brightness or photoperiod too hard, algae starts showing up fast. That ended up teaching me something important about aquarium lighting in general. More light is not automatically better. The Seaoura lights give you enough control to actually dial your tanks in instead of just blasting them at maximum brightness all day. I know some people really enjoy playing with all the different color settings, but I almost never touch them. Once I found a look I liked and a balance that worked for the tanks, I mostly left them alone. Now, since these are the only aquarium lights I've personally owned, I can't really compare them against high-end lighting systems. I don't have a bunch of premium lights sitting around for side-by-side testing. What I can say is that I genuinely think these lights make my tanks and fish look good. My diamond tetra sparkle under them. When the light hits Chenny, my German blue ram, you can really see the iridescence in her scales. The light reaches the substrate well enough that I can clearly watch my Corydora sift through the sand and do their thing. I even have a single jet black Amano shrimp in my 20-gallon long on black substrate, and I can still spot it out grazing around the tank. And that's really what matters to me at the end of the day. I want to be able to sit down, look at my tanks, and enjoy what's actually happening inside them. That said, these lights definitely are not perfect. Probably my biggest complaint is the instructions. They're honestly pretty rough. Once you figure the lights out, they're easy enough to use, but the initial setup process could definitely be explained better. Another annoyance is that if you lose power, you lose your programmed light cycle. So if the power flickers or goes out, you'll need to reset the timing manually. It's not the end of the world, but it's definitely something worth mentioning. I also wish there was more control over the sunrise and sunset dimming periods. The fade in and fade out effect is nice, but I'd personally like a longer dawn and dusk transition. But honestly, these feel more like price point compromises than deal breakers. At the end of the day, these are budget aquarium lights, and I think it's important to judge them within that context. For what I use them for, the trade offs have been pretty easy to live with. At the end of the day, I think these lights help me understand something important about the aquarium hobby. Not everybody needs ultra premium equipment to build tanks they genuinely enjoy. I'm not saying Seaoura lights are the best aquarium lights on the market. I'm also not saying they're the right choice for every type of setup. But for the kind of tanks I keep, fish-first community aquariums with some basic plants and a focus on enjoying the animals, these lights have been great. They've been reliable, easy to live with, customizable enough to help me manage algae, and visually, I think they make my tanks look really good. Most importantly, they quietly did their job well enough that I kept buying more of them. At this point, I own 4 Seaoura lights, and I really don't see myself replacing them anytime soon. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing to the channel. I do long-form aquarium videos like this, tank updates, fish profiles, live streams, and a lot of shorts featuring the fish and tanks on the channel. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.